In December 2010, a police officer conducting a routine training exercise with his K-9 partner stumbled upon something horrifying near Gilgo Beach on Long Island's South Shore. The remains of a young woman wrapped in burlap were discovered just steps from Ocean Parkway. Her identity? Later confirmed as Melissa Barthelemy, a 24-year-old woman who had vanished the previous year. But the horror didn't stop there. Within days, 3 more sets of remains were found nearby, each also wrapped in burlap, each belonging to young women working as escorts. These discoveries would mark the beginning of one of the most perplexing and terrifying serial murder investigations in modern U.S. history. The media dubbed him the Gilgo Beach Killer. Others called him the Long Island Serial Killer, or LISK for short. As the investigation expanded, so did the body count. 11 sets of human remains would eventually be found across Gilgo Beach, Oak Beach, and the surrounding marshlands, most with similar traits: dismembered, wrapped, and abandoned. Among the victims were not only sex workers, but a toddler, an Asian male, and women whose deaths bore eerie similarities, yet unclear connections. Years passed, suspects came and went, the public grew frustrated, families grieved without closure. And all the while, the killer may have watched from the shadows. The first 4 victims discovered in December 2010, Melissa Barthelemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Amber Lynn Costello, and Megan Waterman, shared chilling similarities. All were petite women in their 20s, all worked as online escorts, and all had disappeared between 2007 and 2010. Each of them was found in burlap sacks, buried within a short distance of each other, methodical, precise, deliberate. Maureen was the earliest known victim, vanishing in 2007 while visiting New York from Connecticut. Her phone last pinged near Penn Station. Melissa, who disappeared in 2009, received a series of taunting phone calls made to her teenage sister from her own phone, calls traced to Times Square. Megan Waterman vanished in 2010 after leaving her motel in Hauppauge, New York. Amber Costello, also from Long Island, disappeared later that year. In April 2011, more bodies were discovered, bringing the count to 10. Among them, the remains of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, both dismembered, their torsos found years apart and miles away, but their skulls and limbs now recovered near Gilgo Beach. The remains of Baby Doe, an unidentified toddler, were found just feet from another victim, likely her mother. And then came the Asian Doe, a young man dressed in women's clothing. None of these discoveries fit a single profile, but the location, the disposal, and the time frames all pointed to the same killer or killers. Before the discovery of the Gilgo 4, no one had connected these disappearances. Many victims were marginalized, dismissed, or written off as runaways. It wasn't until the search for Shannon Gilbert, a young escort who vanished after a frantic 911 call in Oak Beach, that law enforcement unearthed the truth. Shannon's call lasted 21 minutes. She was heard saying, "They're trying to kill me." But police initially believed she was just disoriented, possibly on drugs. It took a year before her remains were found, separate from the others. Her death was ruled accidental, but her family insisted she was murdered. That ruling would later be questioned again and again. Meanwhile, the other victims remained unidentified, cold cases piling up as tips dried out and public attention waned. Over the years, numerous suspects have been floated. One of the earliest was Dr. Peter Hackett, a local resident of Oak Beach, who claimed to have spoken to Shannon before she disappeared. He later denied it, then admitted it, then denied it again. He was never charged. Then there was John Betrolf, a convicted murderer whose DNA was linked to 2 women killed in the 1990s. He lived near several of the victims, but none of these suspects have been definitively tied to the Gilgo Beach killings. And in 2023, a new twist emerged. Rex Heuermann, a Long Island architect, was arrested and charged with the murders of 3 victims. Heuermann had been living just miles away. Authorities claim he used burner phones, fake email accounts, and meticulous planning to cover his tracks. Yet even now, doubts remain. Some believe the evidence is circumstantial. Others think he may not be the only killer. Despite years of silence, technology began to breathe new life into the case. Advances in cell tower triangulation, digital footprints, and genealogy DNA played a critical role. Investigators began tracing burner phones linked to the victims' last known locations. Several pings were traced back to Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa Park, where Rex Heuermann lived and worked. Metadata from old email accounts, surveillance footage, and vehicle registration records slowly began forming a digital profile. But it wasn't just digital clues. DNA from a discarded pizza crust left by Heuermann was allegedly matched to hairs found on burlap wrappings. The breakthrough was hailed as monumental, yet it raised bigger questions. If Heuermann was responsible, had he stopped killing? Or was someone else still out there? And what about the victims who didn't match the original 4? The toddler, the Asian male, the dismembered bodies? Were they the work of a second killer? Some experts now believe there may be more than one killer involved, operating in the same dumping ground, perhaps even overlapping in time. Gilgo Beach used to be a place of escape, a quiet stretch of dunes, summer homes, and fishing boats. Now, it's a place synonymous with death. For the families of the victims, time hasn't healed the wounds. Many have accused law enforcement of negligence, slow response, and bias toward the marginalized women whose disappearances were ignored for too long. The Suffolk County Police Department even faced allegations of internal corruption, with one chief eventually arrested for unrelated crimes. Trust was broken and has yet to be fully restored. Meanwhile, media coverage continues to ebb and flow. When arrests happen, attention spikes. But between headlines, the case fades again into eerie silence. Despite the grim nature of the case, the public has played a powerful role in keeping it alive. Podcasts, documentaries, and online sleuth communities have brought fresh eyes to cold evidence. Social media forums like Reddit and web sleuths have dissected timelines, mapped phone pings, and discussed theories overlooked by investigators. In 2020, Netflix's documentary Lost Girls helped bring Shannon Gilbert's story back into the public consciousness. It highlighted the pain of being unheard and the power of not giving up. Today, the case is still open. More DNA samples are being tested, more evidence is being reevaluated, and still, more questions than answers remain. Who left those bodies on Gilgo Beach? Was it one man or several? Why did it take so long for the authorities to act? And most haunting of all, could he still be out there, watching? In the shadows of New York's coastline, the echoes of unanswered cries still linger. For every family still waiting, for every soul still unidentified, the search for justice continues. Because some stories can't remain buried, and some monsters don't disappear.